What up, YouTube? So here's another start of a new project video. And I know what some of you are thinking. You don't need to be starting a new project. You have enough projects going on already. And you're right. But I managed to watch the wrong Hackaday article. Or read the wrong Hackaday article. I was on a Hackaday one night, just browsing. And they did an article on Great Scott, a YouTuber, on a video he posted about an electric longboard that he built. Now, I was subscribed to Great Scott before that, but I didn't see that video till I ran across that article. And basically, he made a video showing how he made an electric longboard. Pretty much nowadays, you can build an electric longboard, electric skateboard. All the parts are available. You just put them together. And I thought that was super cool. And I was like, I got to do it. Because as you know, the boosted boards have been popular on YouTube for a while now. And when the boosted boards first came out, you know, just like everyone else, I thought, man, they look so awesome to ride, so fun to ride, but they were like $1,500. So it's like, I can't spend $1,500 on that. But, you know, back when they first came out, I was living in an apartment, so it would have been practical to, I would have used it a lot if I would have bought one, but I never did. And then probably like 3 years ago, another YouTuber I watched, Peter Sturpool, I believe his name is. He made an electric skateboard, and he made his basically off using just flat out RC parts for remote control cars. And I recently rewatched the video, and pretty much he used 3S, and he used just regular RC car ESC and motor. And even though it was a cool build that he did, it was, you could tell it's pretty slow and underpowered. So that kind of, back then 3 years ago when he posted that kind of thought, man, that's kind of cool that you can build it yourself. But I didn't really think about it. And then when I saw that Great Scott video and saw how now all these people are making all the components to put your own electric skateboard together, I told myself, you know, I got to do that. So I pretty much have watched every DIY electric skateboard video on YouTube now, and I decided to jump in the project and you know, start it. So I got some of the stuff in now, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started with it. And the one thing about this project, since it's just a pure fun project, I am watching my budget. So I'll explain to you the components I chose, but price was always a factor. I sourced a lot of the stuff from China, and I did the long free shipping, which from China or Hong Kong usually takes a month, because, you know, this is just a fun project. I'm not too concerned about getting it done real fast. So like I said, I'll just explain all my choices of the components I chose. And one thing that I'm going to do a little differently on my build that I haven't really seen a lot of people do, or if they did, they don't cover on their own builds, is I'm going to add my own microcontroller. And the microcontroller is not going to be essential for the operation of the board. I was going back and forth between that because I know there's the open source Firefly, I believe it's called, open source Firefly transmitter and receiver that can actually control a longboard. But I decided to shy away from that because I know my limitations, and I don't trust my programming enough to build a controller to, you know, regulate speed and what have you. So but I do want to put a microcontroller in to collect data, communicate UART to the ESCs, and like collect data as like put a trip meter, knowing how far the longboard has traveled. And I'm going to put an accelerometer on it. I'm going to put all these bells and whistles on it, and LEDs on the board, and have the LEDs interact with throttle input or interact with the accelerometer based off where you're leaning on the board. And so that's probably going to be the big difference with my project, is I'm going to spend the time to put together that microcontroller, because I do like doing microcontroller projects and building control boards. and I thought that that would be a good integration to it. And then I am going to have the microcontroller be able to disable output or disable the longboard. That's the only thing that the microcontroller will control. As far as the going from the transmitter to the receiver to the ESC, I'm gonna let it all, the pre-bought stuff, let all that control it. And before I begin, I just want to say, when I started watching other videos, I realized that Great Scott's video is not a really good video to watch if you want to build your own longboard, because since he wasn't into it, since he's kind of like me, just wanting to build one and not super into it, he did some things that if you watch other people's videos, they are more mindful of how they do things. And one of the best video, actually the best video on DIY electric skateboard, and I forget his name, I'm going to put the link in the description, but it's the boosted board killer video. And I took a lot of my ideas from watching his video, so I highly encourage you to watch his video. And I'm going to be, later on in the project, you'll see some of the things he did I'm going to implement on my setup. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. So I guess the first thing I had to choose was the actual board. So I do have a longboard that I use for, I use it to ride down the street, and I can pump that. I have it set up for pumping. It's a bamboo deck. It's a, I don't know any of the stats off the top of my head, but I know it's a bamboo deck and it's super flexible, and I can pump it. And when I'm in shape, I pump that thing a mile straight before I can keep the momentum going on that thing, no problem, when I was in shape. But at first I thought, well, I'll just retrofit that into an electric skateboard, but I decided that I didn't want to do that because I wanted to keep that separate for pumping. And one thing I noticed, an advantage, that one thing I wanted to look for with the deck was to have a kicktail, because I figured that would be an advantage to have a kicktail on the board to be able to maneuver the board a little better. So that's what I looked for. And lately I haven't been big into like different graphics or stuff that people put on the board. So I wanted just a plain board, and I wanted a kicktail, and obviously I wanted a long board, so I had plenty of room to mount the electronics and stuff. So I ended up finding, and then like I said, I've been watching my price on this project. From Skate Shred Distribution, I found this DWDH 36 inch board, and DW stands for dark walnut. So the bottom of the board's dark walnut. DH stands for, it's a downhill board, and it's 36 inches. And it has on the 2 different mounting points for both the front and rear trucks. And it's just a 36-inch board, and it's not flexible at all. It's not made out of bamboo. Like I said, it's a downhill board. And the design online was, the dark walnut was like really, really dark. So I was a little disappointed when I actually got the board. It wasn't the wood grain wasn't as dark as the picture online, but it's just a plain style board. And the price was, to my door shipped, was $57.48. And this is going to be the basis of my board. Now, I did have a little buyer's remorse after I bought this board, because like I said, what I was thinking to myself is I want a board with a kicktail. But after pretty much watching every single DIY electric skateboard videos, I did start watching some boosted board videos. And one of the reasons that people like boosted boards are because of the flexible deck. They say that's good for, you know, for vibrations and what have you. And I really wasn't thinking in that mindset. So after I ordered this, I was like, oh, I guess I should build a long board with a flex deck on it. But nevertheless, I don't know if that's a big deal or not. I bought this one, I'm gonna use this one. So regardless of the fact that it doesn't have a flexible deck. But in the future, I never ridden an electric skateboard, so we'll see if that makes a difference. So, oh yeah, and that price, $57.48, did include grip tape for it. So I forgot to mention that. And then for the main drive system, that was another thing that you can pretty much piece together any motor, any drive system together you want. I mean, there's endless possibilities, but the common trend was there wasn't really a good YouTube video that explains the compatibility of the different options. So I was just browsing eBay, and I decided to go with a pre-assembled option. I went with this belt system. The eBay store, the username is eboard-shop, and I spent, with shipping, $176, and it's labeled as 1500 watts, which, you know, with these Chinese sellers, actually I think it might be a Hong Kong seller. I can double check that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's from Hong Kong. Those stats are, you can never really prove that stat if it actually is 1500 watts. But if it is, it would be plenty of power than I would need. And there was a cheaper option for what it seemed like the same exact setup. There was a cheaper option for $140 free shipping. But I didn't go with that option because that was from a generic. When I looked at that person's store, they were just selling anything they could possibly sell. You know, Hong Kong sell anything you could possibly sell, no information. But with buying it from this seller, not only the shipping ended up being really fast, it came faster than the deck, a little over a week from Hong Kong, DHL shipping. But this seller had options that you could request your wheel color. So I requested green wheels, 83 millimeter wheels. And they had options to request the kV of your motors. So I just went ahead and did 270 kV motors. And the other option was 180. Now, of course, I'm not really educated on whether I needed the more torque of the 180. But my mindset was I'm in Florida. Everything's mostly level. So I don't need the lower kV motors. So you can put in the comments if you think that this was a good deal or not, or if this was just nothing but China junk. There's not too many videos on YouTube of people using this setup. There's one video of a guy using this setup, and his board seems to do well. There's another video of a guy using this setup, and he complained that these motor mounts broke and he had to weld them. And but for me, that's no big deal. I can't weld, but I have plenty of friends who have welders and can weld that they would weld it for me. So we'll see if buying this setup pre-assembled, like I said, I don't have to worry about trying to mount the motors or anything, will be something I'll be worrying about later. Now, these do say they're only rated for 10S, and I already made a decision. I haven't bought any batteries for this project, but I kind of made the decision in my head I'm going to run this 12S. Which we'll see if the motors are going to be able to handle that, which I think they should be able to handle it. It's usually just your usually your ESC that's more important about being picky on whether it can take 10S or 12S. Obviously 12S will run the motors a little harder, but you know, time will tell. But I figured I'd just go ahead and run the setup with 12S so I don't have any regrets on speed. And that $176 also came with the front trucks, and it came with 1/4 inch oh man, my mind is blank. Standoffs, spacers, 1/4 inch spacers, which these are super rubbery and flexible. And it came with 1 1/4 inch hardware. Now, with my calculations with the recommended setup on that deck that I bought, I decided that I wanted to have 1/2 inch spacers, not 1/4 inch spacers. So off of Amazon for $7.44, the cheapest way I could get 1/2 inch spacers was, since I already have 1/4 inch spacers, was get another pair of 1/4 inch spacers. These came in, they're harder than the other ones, than the ones I just showed you. And these came with 1.5 inch hardware, which should be long enough to set it all up. So I think I did plenty of talking introducing this project. So let's go ahead and mount the wheels to the board and see how everything looks. Okay, I'm sure that was really exciting for you to watch. But yeah, I mounted the trucks to the board. No grip tape because I'm planning on mounting the electronics enclosure to the board through screws. And I want to have all the holes drilled into the board before I put on the grip tape. That way, when I put on the grip tape, I can punch the holes. Because if I put the grip tape on now, I would end up having to drill through the grip tape. And I don't know if it would come out right. But first thing I noticed is I wonder if, oh yeah, and I mounted the trucks on the farthest away holes, so I have the longest wheelbase. And first thing I think of is whether I actually needed that half-inch spacer. I'm just touching, with the board lean, I'm just touching my finger underneath the wheelbase. So I could probably take out one of those 1/4-inch spacers. I don't know if the board's too tall, but, oh, whoa, my rear foot split off there without any grip tape. Let's see how much clearance I have on the bottom of the board. I definitely have 4.5 inches of clearance. Probably 4.5 to 4 3/4. So definitely I have a lot of clearance. I mounted the truck's reverse kingpin, just like any regular longboard. But the way these motor wires are routed, they're almost routed more for a, I guess, standard kingpin, I guess. Like a regular skateboard with your kingpins facing in. I mean, I would have to put a bend in them. But I'm going to keep it like that for now, reverse kingpin. So you guys can chime in on the comments if I did anything wrong or if you have any suggestions. This is an ongoing project. But yeah, this is the first part of the project, is mounting the wheels to the board. And from here on out, it'll be stuff that is more interesting than this. So. And obviously there's virtually no flex in the board. But I kind of like, the board is really deep concave. Obviously I'm not wearing my shoes. But, and with the pulley system, it is hard to roll. So if you have any suggestions, feel free to leave them in the comments. Thanks for watching.